Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of December 7th through the 13th of 2020. All right, so this week we are approaching a solar eclipse. We will have the solar eclipse next Monday. So this does mean we are ending the current lunar month. As we go through the week, it is good for completing things, finalizing things from the past few weeks, and creating a bit of space for what will be some new beginnings to our life path moving forward next week. Now, the focus will be on Ophiuchus. The sun is shifting into the healing constellation of Ophiuchus here right off the bat on Monday, which is great for focusing on both internal healing, psychological, emotional, spiritual, but perhaps external healing as well. Could be a great week for this. In fact, that is what the new beginnings will be about. On Monday of next week, the solar eclipse will be in healing Ophiuchus. Now, this week we do have some squares up to Neptune. The sun will be squaring Neptune on Wednesday. Neptune can be a very deep, watery energy. So collectively, we could feel maybe a bit dreamy, idealistic, maybe feeling like escaping or going to some extremes when it comes to finding peace in life. But finding the constructive way of doing this through spiritual activities, presence, doing things more important to us on a soul and spiritual level could make this a very constructive week as we do finalize things from this lunar month. Mercury will then square up to Neptune on Sunday at the end of the week, and Mercury shifting into Ophiuchus over the weekend does put even more emphasis on that healing energy as we do approach the new beginning around the corner. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for Monday through Sunday, December 7th through the 13th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. And so this is very different from mainstream astrology. If you are new to the channel, definitely check out the link down below. It'll explain the system we're using, but it is different from mainstream, and you will notice a lot of the signs are different. For example, the solar eclipse in mainstream is said to be in Sagittarius, but if you do look up at the visible sky, you will see the sun now shifting and getting ready for that eclipse here in Ophiuchus. All right, so before we look at each day of the week, let's do a quick recap to see where everything is collectively for the week. We do have the sun shifting into Ophiuchus right off the bat here on Monday for about the next 10 days roughly. And this is going to be focusing more on the healing energies. I think there's a shift of focus coming into this week on these types of things. So Ophiuchus you could think of as a step up from Scorpio, in that in Scorpio for about the past 10 days, there has been more of this focus on the deeper dimensions, right? Maybe it's been a good time to excavate things, bring things to the surface, both within ourselves and our environment and possibly our relationships. And so Ophiuchus takes all this deeper energy and now works with it, right? And so that's what makes this week so fantastic. So what makes next week so great with the eclipse is how can we get into that healer archetype within us. But this can be, of course, very challenging to do because in order to heal, we do have to be willing to embrace and work with these deeper dimensions of life. So I always like to think of Ophiuchus as sort of exposing the shadow, right? The shadow qualities of life, the parts of ourself that we've hidden away, locked away, that we can then open that door and reintegrate with and accept as a part of ourselves. Also in terms of life in and of itself, to see the full spectrum of the human experience, that there is the quote-unquote good and the quote-unquote bad, all these value judgments we place on things. But it's these bad things, these negative things, right? These deeper things that Ophiuchus helps us embrace because we are that full spectrum, right? We're the full spectrum of the human experience of life. And so by accepting these deeper qualities, the ones we've shunned or exiled, and reintegrating with them makes us more whole, more integrated, and as the Jungians would say, individuated. So great to start to focus on this stuff. Now, as you can tell, this is probably a lot dealing with the internal types of healing, but Ophiuchus can also be external physical healing as well. So if there is any intentions you want to set this week in that context, a physical healing could also make it a great week to do these types of things. All right, Mercury is still well set in Scorpio coming into the week, going into Ophiuchus on Friday. So our minds are definitely in the deeper realms, great for things like research, uncovering hidden things, thinking about things in a much deeper, more meaningful way is great at this time. Venus is well set in Libra, so our relationships, finding a little bit of balance is great, seeing both sides of the coin, valuing essentially harmony and what's right and what's balanced and fair. Right, this can make it a very enjoyable time for that stuff and a great way of working with our one-on-one relationships. Now with Mars, of course, Mars is still in watery Pisces and will be until mid-January. So when we're taking action, still good to go with the flow as best as we can and surrender what's outside of our control so that we can put action and energy both towards what we do have control over, which is fundamentally ourselves, and also on the things that are more spiritually meaningful to us that Mars and Pisces helps us connect with. All right, so let's go and take a look here at Monday. As you can see here with the aspects, most of the aspects are concentrated about midweek in terms of important, we could say, events or shifts and changes. The most important thing about this week, though, is that we are ending the current lunar month. And so as we do approach Monday's solar eclipse, we are getting closer to the ending phase of the cycle. And so as we do get closer to that, it is a great time of completing things this week. Great opening to the week could be asking ourselves, what are some things we've been focused on the past 3 weeks that now we can finalize and complete and have some closure with. And as we get closer to the eclipse, also clearing, right? Creating some space, letting some things go. Very important during the eclipse times because they're very important lunar cycles that deal with our life path. And so the more we are turning inward towards the ending phase, the more we are releasing, creating some space, then the more we can allow in terms of these new life path beginnings around the corner. All right, so on Monday, no major aspects, but the moon will be finishing expressive Leo. So if you had found that it's a good weekend, last weekend, for maybe having a little bit of fun, maybe expressing ourselves, getting into the more lighter, playful energies of life, this is still really good to develop on Monday. A little bit of that passion and self-expression. The challenge with this is that we are in the third quarter phase of the cycle, which means this is a very different energy than the deeper energy, right? Fire and water, with Leo and in this case Ophiuchus. So how can we integrate the two, right? What we're passionate about, what we love, but also in a deep and meaningful way, which is where the major focus is here this week. Now, once we do get into Tuesday, the moon will be shifting into Virgo, which places an emphasis on improvement orientation, all the way up until we get to about Saturday. Virgo is a very large constellation, so it does take longer for the moon to transit through here. And so from Tuesday to Saturday, it is great to see what can be improved, right? Getting into the facilitative side of life. How can we do things like maybe personal development, personal growth, maybe focus on our habits or our routines or our work and our service, right? Great way of working with the week as a backdrop with the moon transiting this very large constellation of Virgo. Then once we do get into about Wednesday, we start to come into these aspects, starting first with the sun squaring up to deep, watery Neptune. Neptune is that Piscean kind of energy, and in a square, it does naturally lean towards more imbalance. So collectively, this could be a wanting to maybe escape or hide away or get caught up into some dreams or ideals, to kind of get essentially to find peace. So the best way of working with this collectively is to see how can we find healthy ways of finding peace in life, right? The natural tendency might be the easy way or the more extreme way, but what are some things we can build constructively or do constructively or set some intentions with constructively that will lead to healthy peace and well-being? So some examples of that could be spiritual activities. Others could be getting rest, right? Meditative time. For others, it could be creative. It could actually be a very good time for getting in touch with our imagination and channeling that constructively through art or creative pursuits, right? So anything that's more spiritually meaningful, that's going to bring a little bit more peace into our life, is a great way of working with Wednesday, as we can really anchor and build and take action and initiative towards this deep watery energy here with Neptune. Now, once we do get into the Thursday time, on a minor note, Venus will be sextiling up to Pluto. Nothing major with this one, but maybe a bit of an opening for some of that deeper energy that we're focused on this week into our relationships and into our values and enjoyments in life, right? Venus rules our values, our relationships, our enjoyments, getting a sort of opening with Pluto, which is about depth and deeper connection. So really good for that. Maybe it's a little bit easier to do that, or there's an opening to get some depth, intimacy, deeper connection, maybe valuing truth, right? These deeper values in life can make it a great way of working with Thursday here. But as we do go through Thursday and as we get into Friday, the Sun will be trining up to Mars. And so this is a very nice aspect, and it actually kind of contradicts the square up to Neptune, because Mars is about fire, it's about action, it's about initiative. So actually midweek, as we kind of ease up off some of that watery energy, we might feel a dose of this initiative and action. At least it's great to do it, right? Mars in a healthy way is about taking action towards what we want, towards our goals, towards our needs, taking some initiative. And we have a lot of support to do that. Now, again, as the context with Mars and Pisces, it is still important to have that watery, receptive approach, that when we are taking action, to be as receptive as possible in the process. But this could be easy to do it. We've had Mars here for a very long time now, and so we're getting used to this kind of willingness to go with the flow a little bit, have a little bit more peace, listen to the currents of life and put energy towards the currents instead of fighting upstream. And so with all these lessons we've learned with Mars and Pisces, this is now in very good harmony this week. So initiative, action, assertiveness, independence, expressing ourselves, all in a way that I think is a bit softer, a bit more receptive, a little bit more attuned to the spiritual dimensions of life. All right, and then as we do get into this, around this kind of time period, I do want to mention, the Sun will be going over the South Node. And, it's when we have the new and full moons next to the nodes, that's when we have these eclipses, right? It's what marks an eclipse. And so although we usually don't feel this that personally, I would say around this Thursday onward, as we do approach the eclipse, we might start to get a bit of an insight as to what the eclipse is about. So Sun over South Node, this could be maybe some things that we may want to release. Maybe they're past things, past patterns, past perspectives that we become aware of. And in that awareness space, it helps us release them, because the South Node is the past. It's what we're releasing to essentially find a little bit more peace in our life, much like that Neptune energy, right? And to resolve some past karma, if you will. So we won't be feeling it, but I do feel like the second half of the week is really good for bringing some conscious light to past patterns, to any attachments we may have, right, to these automatic patterns and things we're holding on to, that as we become aware of, we can release and feel a little bit more liberated, a little bit more free, and see a little bit more flow as a result of that. Of course, much of this will come out of the eclipse, but again, we do get a little bit of a prelude to that here around the Thursday time period. All right, so once we do get into Friday, Mercury will start to shift into Ophiuchus. And so this adds to the healer energy in terms of our mind. And so maybe starting to work with some healing things, maybe learning about things that involve healing, and sometimes simply the act of learning and using our minds can be quite healing and therapeutic with Mercury here. All right, and then the last aspect of the week, we have Mercury then squaring up to Neptune on Sunday. And so in this context, much like we had earlier in the week, where it's been important to find healthy ways of finding peace, this is particularly important in terms of how we're thinking, right? So if the mind's wandering a little bit with Mercury square Neptune, dreamy, imaginative, right? Seeing how we can channel that constructively, maybe doing some creative writing, maybe some automatic writing. Again, spiritual activities are great with this kind of aspect, and anything in our routines that we can incorporate a little bit more peace into, presence into, mindfulness into, right, can also be very, very constructive. So finding the constructive way of working with that water energy, but that's really the theme all week anyways. And on a minor note, I do want to mention that the moon will be in Libra here Saturday, which is the location of the last lunar month. So as I was saying, with this completion phase, Moon in Libra is completing this kind of awareness of how to find balance and harmony in life. So anything on that level, particularly around Saturday, that is going to help us find a little bit more balance. And in our relationships, some harmony, mutuality, doing the right thing with Venus here. very good to do on Saturday. But the major context over the weekend is going to be ending the current cycle and starting to gear up for that deep healer energy that we are going to be embodying both for ourselves and others in our environment with the solar eclipse around the corner on Monday. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet. If you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe for more videos like this one. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it's a newsletter where you do get updated on videos like this one and special discounts and readings and all kinds of extra content. So if you haven't yet signed up for that, do check that out. But again, have a great week, and I'll see you all next time for the next weekly forecast. Take care.